Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we'll review the highlights of this week's course of Daf Yomi study, Masechet Yoma, pages 49 through 55, Daf Memtet through Daf Nun Hey. 49. Ibo Eluhu. We ask a question. Mahu shachat vamet. If a Kohen Gadol slaughtered the bull offering and on Yom Kippur and died before having been able to do any of the rest of the service, Mahu shi kanes acher b'damo. Can his replacement, the new Kohen Gadol, continue where the first one left off and enter into the Kodesh Kadashim, the Holy of Holies, with the blood of the previously slaughtered bull? Or is it necessary for this Kohen Gadol who is entering the scene late in the game to bring a new bull, do a shchita on it, receive the blood, and take that blood into the Kodesh Kadashim? It's a machloket amoraim. Rabbi Chanina Amar b'far lo b'damo shel par. The Rabbi Chanina says it must be that there is a bull and not just the blood of a bull, so there must be a new shchita. Whereas Reish Lakish says b'far afilo b'damo shel par, that it's enough to have blood and there's no need for a new shchita. Daf Nun. The rule is that if you have tevel, if you have untithed produce, you must separate truma and maaser, priestly and Levitical emoluments, from that untithed produce. Well, what happens if Ruvain had untithed produce, and Shimon wants to do Ruvain a favor by separating from his own supply truma to satisfy the obligation for Ruvain? Well, if he does that, it's valid, it counts. But not only that, Shimon, who is doing a favor for Ruvain, now has an advantage. The person who does the separating of the truma, he has the right to pick the Kohen, the tovat hana'ah. As Rashi explains, the person who's doing the tithing and doing a favor for his fellow gets to select which Kohen will be the recipient of that emolument. Daf Nun Aleph. Tanya, Asher Lo, it says about the bull of Yom Kippur that it must be belonging to the Kohen Gadol. He must pay for it out of pocket and cannot pay for it with communal funds. So the Gemara says, well, maybe the reason why you can't use communal funds for the bull of Yom Kippur is because the broader Jewish people do not secure atonement from that bull. That on Yom Kippur the Kohen confesses 3 times. The first time on the bull is for himself and for his family. The second time on the bull is for himself, his family, and the fellow Kohanim. The third time he confesses is on the goat of Azazel. That is for the entire Jewish people. All right, so maybe the reason why it can't be from communal funds is because the community doesn't really benefit with an atonement. However, maybe the other Kohanim can pay for this bull because they do gain. They do get atonement from this bull. Comes along the Torah to say twice, Asher Lo, to teach you that it must be paid for by the Kohen Gadol. It cannot be paid for by the other Kohanim, and even Me'akev, even as an essential matter, not just ideally, even post facto, it must have been paid for by the Kohen Gadol. Daf Nun Bet, 52. Tani Chada, one Braita says, Sobra b'pnima, shehi chutza lo. V'tani Idach, another Braita says, Sobra chutz shu pnima lo. The question is, when the Kohen Gadol deposits the incense, the granules of incense, on the coals in the fire pan in the Kodesh Kadashim on Yom Kippur, does he begin to spread out the incense at a position which is closer to the ark and further away from his body, or closer to his body and further away from the ark? There are 2 different braitaot, 2 different theories as to what he should do. However, logic would dictate that what should he do? He should begin spreading the incense further away from himself and draw nearer. Why? As the Gemara says, we teach the Kohen, don't start too close to yourself and then spread outward. You'll burn yourself. You'll burn your arms. Your clothing will go on fire. But rather, start further away and draw near. This way, no flames and smoke are going to adversely affect the Kohen Gadol. Nun Gimel, 53. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita, that the Kohen Gadol must place the Ketoret, the incense, on the fire before God. You should not arrange the mixture of the coals and the incense to produce a smoke on the outside before entering, but rather do it on the inside. But this was to go against the Sadducean practice that Stokim, they were of the view that you prepare the smoke outside and then enter into the room. The Prushim said, no, prepare the smoke in the room. What was the nature of the machloket? The nature of the machloket was not just an interpretation of the verse, but rather that the Sadducees had a belief that if you entered into the Kodesh Kodashim without having your vision obscured by smoke, you would actually see God, and you might die from the vision, from the frightful vision. Whereas the Prushim, the predecessors of the rabbis, were of the view that no, you enter into the Holy of Holies, and there's nothing to see there of a frightful nature. Whatever God is in the physical sense, if anything, because God is incorporeal, will not hurt you. The Torah tells you to go in and you prepare the incense inside the Kodesh Kodashim. Daf Nun Daled. Amar Rav Nachman. Chachamim Omrim, Aron B'lishkat Dir Eitzim Hage Ganuz. The ark was sequestered, was squirreled away in the area near the wood chamber of the temple. So there's a machloket in the Gemara whether or not the ark was taken captive at the destruction of the first temple to Babylonia, or was put away somewhere hidden on the Temple Mount in the days of King Yoshiyahu. So the sages were of the view that the ark was in the vicinity of the Lishkat HaEtzim, the wood chamber. And Masechet Kohen Echad, there was an incident involving a certain Kohen. He noticed that there was something different about the floor. He was curious about it. And he told his fellow, look, there's something interesting here, something to see here. And before he even had a chance to reveal to his fellow what was going on in that spot, he died. So we see here that it's not in the interests of Judaism for the secret spot of the Aron, Habrit, to be revealed to the masses. That when there was an incident involving a person who found it, they had an unfortunate end. Daf Nun Hey. If you send a sin offering by proxy, by agent, from a faraway place, Medinat Hayam, the provinces of the sea, Makrivinota, the temple officials will offer it on the Mizbeach, Bechazkat Shehu Kayam, even though the rule is that if the owner of a chatas has already died, that we don't bring it as a korban, and in the age before cell phones, the administrators of the temple could not know that the owner of the sacrifice was still alive, we assume there's a chazakah, there's a legal presumption that this person is still alive, and their korban will be offered. Everyone have a great week.